Looks like we're recording. Okay. I'm going to read the call to order here. Recording and taping notification as required by law. The town may audio or video record this meeting. Any person intending to either audio or video record this open session is required to inform the chair. Old business, the meetings from 12/17/19 meeting we do not have, so we'll just table that till next meeting. Do you want to go over your phone app?
If you do. You're secretary today and I'm next time?
Oh, who's?
Yeah,
Oh, you're
I guess so.
secretary. You're
Yeah,
secretary.
I'll do it
Okay.
today.
Okay.
And then because
Because I was going to do it last week, but then Sarah showed up, so I'll
Yeah.
figure just do it.
because Chief, you're going to go over your yes. So we can do the plain audible definition along with the chief's report. So we
Yeah.
can kind of
Sounds good.
get that together.
Okay.
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
So, I looked at a couple different, there are a bunch of different app builders out there, make it pretty easy to put together an app. And I went through like almost half a dozen of them, and they all had, I wanted it to be able to shoot out a text to someone, and none of them had conditional logic built in. But I finally found one called FormStack. And it's not a proper app, it's more of a web form. So you can use it on any computer, any tablet, any phone, okay? And
Yeah.
so, it looks like this. You basically design a form with these little things over here. And,
Is what you sent to me today?
no, that was the notice.
Okay.
And then you can assign who gets based on, okay, so let me just show you what the form looks like. So there's a welcome screen and it takes you to a form. And within that form, you put in your name, address, optionally email and phone number, and then this source of noise, as you understand it, and put in any comments.
Oh, so it's the location, it's the source of noise.
Right. So, Ember, Mad Minnow, Perks, The Port, Richmond Beach Club, Harwich Inn and Tavern.
Okay.
And
No
then,
lanyard, no hot stove, no, just kidding.
no, I can do whatever you want. And then over here, you can assign logic to it. So each one of those, so if it was Ember, then I'd have it set up to send to a email to myself and a text message to myself. Okay, so you can send text. There's a technique where you can send a text message via email.
Okay.
So I just took your phone number and I looked up who is your supplier, and it's Sprint. And there's each of the different carriers has a server that translates an email into a text message.
Yeah,
So there's some delay sometimes.
sure.
Okay, so that's how it works. So
Go ahead, I'll let you finish.
if I do this, I already sent this. I think I sent this to Fran. So I'll do a whoop, wrong one. This is going to, and I think the quickness, well, I send it to 3 different places.
Okay.
So turn on your phones, turn off Do Not Disturb. I'm not sure who's getting what right now. It's not a submitting. Okay. Let me get a new form. Okay, that one failed. Let me start with fresh. I think it's screwed up because I was between internet connections. Okay, so just send in,
Okay.
and then it says, so someone just got a ding.
I just got
Yeah, I
one.
got one. Noise advisory.
So you are in effect, I forget who's who.
I did not.
I did.
I didn't click, we weren't clicked.
I wasn't playing. Okay,
Oh.
good.
A neighbor has requested you to lower those behind you.
So we can change that text however you want to change it. You can do the same thing from your phone. If you go to What's the address for it? I'll just do a note. So type in, who wants to try one? You want to try one, Angela?
Sure.
So type in,
As a message?
bring up a browser and type in, that's the address. You want to go to.
Is she sending it as a text message?
She's just going to go through this.
Oh, she's going to do it on there?
Where am
Okay.
I?
No, on it.
She's gonna do it on
Where's
her
the,
phone.
where's the
Right there.
address?
Right there.
She's gonna do it on her
Oh,
phone.
Harwich Forms, okay.
And so, if you put who it's from, it'll say who it's from, right? If they don't put anything, it won't show.
Well, that's,
Is that right?
it's
I'm just saying, no,
optional. Yeah,
it's-
so the way I rigged it up is that,
Uh-huh.
it's optional if you put in your phone number, it's optional to put in your email address. If you do, then my thinking was that the businesses could reply to you and see if things are going, okay? We could require it, we don't have to, I don't know.
No, yeah.
And I just discovered.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody gets a text message at the business that says.
What's real nice about it
Turn
is
it down.
that,
It's not coming up. Harwich.formstack.com. Mine didn't come up.
Harwich.formstack.com/form/noise_report.
Oh, I have to do all that? Oh, jeez. Okay.
Well, and then you save that link, or that can be
Yeah.
embedded or linked to
Okay.
either on the police department's website or on the town's website, and just have a link there, and you say,
Slash noise underscore. Got it.
you got it too.
I do.
Yes, okay.
But I just want to see what it looks like.
So go for it.
You do it?
Yeah.
All right. So, just for clarity, in here I would be putting my own name and
Yeah,
then...
so this is the end user, this is the complainers.
So I'm, okay.
Mine says, did not match any documents. Let me see it again.
So
Type it in.
the address is where it says address where you're experiencing the noise, so I'm
Right.
saying where I live,
Right.
and I'm hearing
Right.
from wherever. Got it.
Where's your underscore on this?
Oh, you have to go,
Over here?
Yeah. oh, good. Okay. Oh, I see, okay.
So I'll submit this?
Yeah.
So by selecting perks, the idea is that perks will be getting a notification.
Well, okay.
Well, in this case,
And then
it's
it's-
because
good
we'll-
get it?
but we're pretending
Okay.
like he's perks. for
Right,
example.
So you just hit the restaurant, any comments,
Yeah.
and then that goes straight to them? Or
Yeah,
whoever, or the manager, or
just straight
whoever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there can be some delays.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't put any comments in it.
That's not
Oh.
too long of a delay.
Well, that was a
Was
quick
it-
one. I've
was
seen
it
it last, take us
Oh, okay.
today, but I think it depends on service. I use T-Mobile. Sometimes it's like 3 minutes.
Sound
or
like my
5.
wife. She says that all the time. You're yelling. You talk too loud.
So I'm getting a bunch of texts over here.
Okay.
So what does it look like for the business owner?
So the first one was from Bob, probably. And the
Oh,
second one
and
further
me.
down is from you.
Harwich noise advisory. Neighbors requested you lower the volume.
So this is all customizable. You can change the message at the
Mhm.
welcome screen, at the end screen, at this thing. We can do
Sure.
whatever we want. So what I think is real nice about it is that it records everything. Let me get a new version of this.
Who does it record for?
Every entry. So this is, here, there's Heather's right there. See, so every call that's is made is logged. So we can,
Who gets the
who sees
report?
this?
Yeah, who
Well,
sees it?
the- who gets to see
Yeah.
the
the
log?
administrator.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So here are the advantages, pros and cons.
Yeah.
It allows both email and text notification businesses. It keeps email and phone numbers confidential. It may be less confrontational for residents and businesses and encourage working together. But as compared to just like having designated text phone numbers and then calling. I'm not sure that it's going to be that much better, but it might make it easier just to do the report, for people to report.
When people are making this report, do they have to put their name and address onto it?
That's up to us.
That's up to us.
We can
We
decide
can
what
make it- yeah,
we can
okay.
choose what we want. Of course, it calls for later reporting review. And I think if people use this rather than calling the police, it's going to reduce the effort, or in addition to calling the police, it will give a more accurate picture about what's going on. People are more likely to use it, and could reduce the number of calls to the police.
Sure.
If it gets started. It just is trying to open up communication. It can be embedded, like I said, it can be embedded or linked to from a website, and can be accessed with any browser, any tablet, computer, or phone. So cons, there sometimes are delays, like a 10-minute delay. I've seen
It's
this.
not a con, okay.
Okay. There's a per-month cost of $20 for one administrator,
Yeah.
$100 for 5 administrators.
Okay.
It will require some amount of maintenance. I just met Foster downstairs, he's the IT guy, so
Okay.
maybe I could work with him.
Mm-hmm.
And the maintenance is for like phone number, email updates, export reports, and I just discovered a bug in farmstead today. So I had to send that in, so there's issues like the read-only, the required fields are screwed up.
Okay.
And another con is that it could be abused.
That's the number one con.
Yeah.
The only way to stop that is you have to put in a name or
address or
address, email address, something, you know.
But
But
even
it-
still, people will could, if they wanted to abuse it, they'll just
Oh,
put
yeah,
John
that's
Doe
true.
and I live right across
Yeah.
the street
Right.
every time.
Or Heather.
Or
Yeah,
any
or
of
Heather.
those. They'll
Yeah.
say they're all coming from me.
Well, you
Yeah.
can make it pre-filled with your phone number, well, because you may
Yeah.
not be on your phone. You may
Right,
be on a
could be.
computer. Yeah, I see, okay.
So,
Yep. No, it would be great in an ideal world.
And you're relying on the business owner or whoever the business owner, I mean, the business owner's not always at the establishment, but
That's okay.
well, I
But
think
who-
what we were talking about before is designating, whether it's through this app or through just plain texting, we were
Yeah.
talking about designating someone.
At least one or two
to,
numbers.
To,
Because even if it goes to the person who's not there, you can still say, hey, guys, call the business,
yeah.
or girls.
And you're relying on
Guys,
that
girls.
person to hear the ding.
Yeah.
it also goes by email, and, you know, that's the job. I mean, that's the requirement.
They're all,
Yeah.
everybody's on their phones all the time, so.
And
But
then
in a
For the most
noisy
part.
establishment, I mean, I don't know, are they gonna hear it?
you get a vibration, I don't know.
Are they
Get
gonna,
vibration on the
They may
app.
not hear it right away, but they'll hear it within they'll see it within a
People
short
like-
period of
they're
time.
on the,
Sarah's watching, right?
Yeah, exactly.
watching their phone all
That's
the
what I
time.
mean. They're gonna see it within a short period of time, for the most part,
yeah.
I would assume. But the only problem, it's just, I mean, I think it sounds great, it's just the abuse, I hope.
That's what, yeah.
You know,
Does
but you
it-
could try it, I guess.
You could do like a 3-month or 2-month,
You
or
could
even
try it
a
for the
1-month
summer.
trial.
I tried
You could
this
try it for
summer.
the summer, you could embed it maybe on the chamber website or something, the link, or something like that, possibly, or...
Does this track any IP addresses?
It does.
So you'll
an
know if
IP
someone
address.
isn't
Oh,
putting
is
it,
it?
putting
Right,
it.
yeah.
Oh, you
Also-
would,
also
so the
checks
administrator could...
Also checks the
Monitor.
GPS location.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
then you'll see.
So long as somebody with authority has the right to look at that, that's good.
Do you see any problems with this, Chief, from your perspective?
No, other than I understand the concerns of the abuse, but it's kind of like, almost like the deal that Bob's got now. Well, it's just with Sarah, right? I mean, you have that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Texting
can
back,
you-
well, it's just taking that to the next level.
Right.
Yeah, you know, whatever works.
Right.
Is what I think we're all here for, to try and solve the problem. I don't see any other downsides. for that.
We can do a test period, work out any
Obviously,
bugs
the
and
establishments have to
buy in.
be on board
Yeah.
too, right? So,
Speak up, Jenny.
Well, there's
No.
no public comment tonight.
Well, can we invite her to speak? Is that allowed?
I don't know. I
Why
invite
not?
you to speak. I don't know, it's a volunteer, yeah, go ahead. I'll take it if it's wrong.
It's quick,
Mhm.
it's just like along the line of, do you see any problems? I'm just wondering how, if you're 150 feet away, you know whether the noise is coming from Perks or the Port.
That's a good point, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so like at my house,
You don't, but this, so if you don't think it's you don't turn down your music.
so at my house, I sometimes had trouble distinguishing whether music was coming from the minnow, from Perks, or the Port. And in that case, I could just click all three and let them figure it out. I mean, maybe that's an abusive
That's
thing,
not
I don't know.
No,
But
if they don't have music on there, they're gonna know it's not them.
Yeah, and you could, I require that, right now, it's required to fill in something, because if you don't, it doesn't go anywhere, the text won't go anywhere.
Is there a way for them to respond to you?
By text, or, if you
So
put your-
I mean, I text Perks and, well, where I live, I text Ember and tell them their music, the music's too loud. Is there a way for them to respond to me so I know they've gotten it and they've turned their music down?
Well, you put in your notes, you put in your text, your phone number and your
Yeah.
email, and say, please respond.
Please respond.
Or is there a way to make it even easier? Because those places are hopping. So you get the manager, whoever, the owner, okay, turn down your music. Can they just hit like a submit back to that person who made the complaint instead of them having to stop, type it
It'll take
in,
a few
figure it
seconds,
out? Well, have you been?
Done.
Ember. Just hit a done.
D-O-N-E.
Hit the done
You know,
button.
they can hit
Right.
the done button.
Can we do that?
Next year?
Yeah.
Just because,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
I
the
see what you're
places
saying.
are
That's a-
crazy.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
that's,
like-
They got 5
that's another
seconds to
step.
text back.
Step.
I don't know, I mean, I've been there and they've been,
It takes a lot less time to text me back than to deal with a cop.
I'm just putting it out there,
No,
that's my
no,
opinion.
It takes
No,
My
it's-
opinion, that
yeah.
they should have it very simple, especially for doing a test period.
They have to text back.
I'll think about it, I don't see a
Or you
quick
get
way of
distracted
developing
and,
that.
you
I
know,
don't see a quick way of developing that,
No.
because they receive a text message. I'd have to develop some other app, and
no,
I don't
not
wanna do
this,
that.
this point.
Right.
But they could text back and say done.
Easy, yeah, it should be
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
Or do they have to? I mean, it's just another layer of,
no, they
Yes,
don't.
I'm just
Yeah,
throwing
but
it out
it's
there.
communication, it's building, I think they should, because
It's
you're
communication if you
building,
know who's sending
Mm-hmm.
it.
they don't have
It's
to.
not,
Yeah,
it's just,
so-
They know they
it's an
got a
alert
phone number.
otherwise, yeah.
it's just an
Right.
alert,
They
right?
can
Mhm.
text back, again, it's.
I have a- I have
If they have a phone number,
issue-
absolutely it's communication.
But I have
They
a
want-
problem
it's
with people being
communication.
so anonymous all the time.
Right,
You know, if you're making a complaint, own the complaint.
Yeah.
Own it.
that's fine.
Put your name down, put your phone number or whatever. Don't be anonymous all the time. You're talking about a noise complaint, you're not reporting
Yeah.
something
If
horrible,
some people don't
horrible.
want to,
Well,
they
I
gotta
mean,
deal with that.
I know, but that's on them. I mean, we're all adults.
Mhm.
I do have an issue with an anonymity with, when it comes to this. That's my opinion, so, anyway, moving on, that's great. Anything else with
I
that?
think that's good, Bob.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
Liked it. Good job, that's
Didn't
it.
blow up, that's good.
No. I think
It
we need to,
worked.
I think we need to, I'm
You didn't do a
gonna,
Bill Gates or crash.
Who would be the administrator?
Right now, it'd be me,
yeah,
Would be you, yeah.
have to,
unfortunately, but
Yeah.
I'm willing to do it.
Awesome.
I'd like someone else to pick up the $20 a month at some
Of
point.
course, no, you would, it would have, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you prepay? Like, can you just sign up for just
I don't know.
6
I-
months, or do you have to do
No, I
a
just,
full-time?
I get billed every month, so.
Okay, so just every month, so you have to do a year in
If I
advance?
don't, I lose the form or something, so.
Mhm. I was wondering if it was a year in advance, like, everybody can just chip in and pay the year's
Yeah.
yeah.
cost. when
Right.
they-
But if we need an additional administrator, which might be the case with, we'd have to talk to Foster if he's the guy, then we might need a more expensive license, $100 a month.
Who's Foster?
The guy that opened the door for us and let us in.
The
We were
IT.
locked out.
Yeah, we were locked out.
Oh,
We knocked on the
okay.
window, he was,
Oh, so he's an IT employee of the town.
I do it, Caleb.
Yeah.
Caleb. All right. Is that
that's all I got, that's all I got.
perfect? Okay, great.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chief?
Okay, So I put together a report that, and I didn't have your emails, I emailed Cindy,
I
and she
got-
forwarded to you
yep.
guys.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got like everything here except for the giant 60-page log entry support
Yeah,
documents.
I just parted some pages.
Okay, if anybody wants a copy of this, all right, just let me know, because I'm just gonna...
Oh, do you have copies?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, I was gonna read it on my phone, but it's easier to read it from here.
I got one.
I'm like a dinosaur, I like
I'll
hard
take one.
copy
Anyone?
stuff.
You have one?
myself.
I'm going to do one. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Want a couple of them?
So, what I did was, I know,
Tell
it's Marna, right?
It is one.
Marna, there was, at the last meeting, the 2018 violation process was brought up, and it sounded to me like there was some broad gaps there, so I'm like, all right, I will look at the 2018 violation process for the date range of May 1st through November 1st. So we're looking at 6 months here of the violation process for Ember. All right, now I'm not picking on anybody. All right, there were other establishments that had violations going on at this time also. But I thought it would be useful for us to pick one and say, this is what happened in the summer season of 2018 with this 18, yeah. We're talking about 18
Yeah.
at the
Yeah,
last meeting?
yeah.
It's past summer when they built the bandstand. That's the summer I was talking about.
Okay, well, that was 19.
Okay. But we
But
can-
anyway, sorry, I did 18.
I think we talked about 18 and 19 kind
Yeah.
of overall.
Okay, so this is just 18.
Yeah.
And this is an example, and now I haven't followed the timelines of the other places that got violations and that went to hearings, okay? But this is the timeline for 2018 at Ember. Now, I want to bring your attention to the last 2 pages, because we're going to talk about the complaint process itself, right? So this is addendum D is page 16 and 17 of the Board of Selectmen liquor regulations. Okay, there's obviously more pages to these, the full, I think you can get it online.
You can, yeah.
But
Yeah.
page 16, 1.16, violations, and then semicolon hearing procedure. So you look, and this is what lays out the hearing procedure that we follow, that I follow as the chief of police, okay? So it says, upon written notice from the chief of police or other source that an illegality has allegedly occurred. Now, what I'm not referring to is illegalities, this is, or other matters. So this is another matter that I'm going to bring to the attention of the licensing authority, that they'll consider an open session whether or not to hold a public hearing. So that happens when I send a memo to the town administrator that a certain establishment has noise violations, okay? Then that goes on the agenda to the selectmen, and they determine whether or not a hearing's going to be held. If they determine a hearing's going to be held, they usually charge the town administrator with being the hearing officer. He then serves the establishment with written notice that there's going to be a disciplinary hearing at such date and time, and they can be represented by an attorney, bring in their witnesses, et cetera. We do the same thing. All right? So that is the process that's laid out in the regulations. So let's look at
Can I
it.
ask you just a question on this
Yeah.
though? So disciplinary guidelines, these guidelines seem like they were more geared towards a liquor violation than they really were for a noise violation. So if you lose second offense warnings to 30-day suspension, right? But it's a warning, there's a range there, so they know it's not a liquor violation. Technically, it's under the regulations, but if they say it's just noise, you lose your entertainment for a week.
Right.
Or whatever, okay, which what you've been doing.
has happened in the past.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
You know,
Yep.
and progressive discipline starts with usually a warning, which it did for Ember in 2018.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, in 19, then they took action on the suspension of the entertainment license, and there was some other
Right.
things that they wanted, like acoustic only on Sundays, and somebody have to reread the letter.
Yeah.
But that is correct. However, if you read through the regulations themselves, there is and I bring this up at every meeting before the season starts with all the licensees, if you become the focus of police attention, you can be held in violation of your liquor license as well. So
Sure.
there is an option there that the board, as the disciplinary authority, can take against the liquor license if they wanted to.
Yeah.
They
Which
can-
is like fights in the parking lot and things like that.
Yeah, or,
Like you had at the Clatter. there was
yeah,
a lot of
but the way it's
problems down there.
worded, if you look at if you look at that section of the regulation, it could also apply to noise and disturbances.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, we haven't gone that route yet.
Right.
This simply going the entertainment license route, so
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
All right, so if you look at page 2, I've just got some, lead in here, and so in 2018, there were a total of 128 noise complaints. That includes loud parties and live bands at other private residences, but 58 of those were at licensed establishments, so they fall under these regulations.
Right.
All right, so, then I'll also mention that the violation procedure there. Now, on page 2, it starts, paragraph 2 starts, it's been our unwritten policy. I think it's worthy to note here that how we dealt with this has been to say, all right, we find you, we've got a violation here, we're gonna send you notice of a violation as a written warning. That's outside of the regulations, that's something we came up with, that's not required under anything.
Mhm.
That's just what we came up with,
Right.
okay? Because I thought that was a fair way to do it.
And that's per calendar year, chief?
As far as a warning, yeah, per
That
season. So you
per
get
season.
one violation documented.
Yeah,
And then the rest that put on notice are gonna be brought in front of the
Yeah.
licensing authority.
yeah.
And that's how we tried to do it. Now, I say tried to do it because in my analysis of this, I actually came up with probably 2 instances that should have been violations that weren't. They're documented, but they weren't brought to the licensing authority.
Yeah.
Okay, so they actually got a break there. Whether or not that would have made a difference because it ended up in a warning at the end of the season anyway, I don't know. But I'm saying that,
Mhm.
I also have some numbers here that in that 6-month time frame, believe it or not, there were 10,000 log entries. So it's a lot to comb
Yeah.
through in a summer season.
Oh, yeah.
It's busy with high call volume. I'm not
Yes.
making excuses, I'm
No
just saying that,
excuse. Yeah.
you're never gonna be able to eliminate human error, and we're doing the
Mhm.
best we can here
Mhm.
as far as trying to follow the procedure and trying to get it standardized.
Right.
Okay? So the timeline starts on page 2, and so the first violation is June 19th, and that's playing after 10 PM. And there's another point here that I want to make, that, and I know that there are gaps here, in the timeline admittedly, that it's not an instantaneous notification to management, to owners, I should say. It is an instantaneous notification to the people on the ground at the establishment the night it occurs. If that wasn't happening, I would be deeply concerned.
Okay.
But every single log entry of a violation or report that I reviewed indicates that the manager was contacted and told of the complaint or the violation. So where I see potentially a communication issue is between the manager and the ownership, if that's what's, supposed to happen. But that's not our responsibility.
No.
Yeah.
Okay? So I just wanted to point that out, and that's why I have these underlined, that, that every time we go, we make contact, if it's a violation, we make a contact with the manager. So the 19th is the first one, and then the first, after that, there are a couple that are missed. So the 29th is one, which was playing after 10, and that was documented but missed. And then there was one, August 11th, which was, and I'm trying to remember if this was the season or not, that there was an issue of, okay, it wasn't live music, but it was, the band was on a break and we're playing house music, but it can be heard, beyond 150 feet.
Right. That was.
That was a training issue for us where we had to educate the patrol officers and the sergeants to say, yeah, it doesn't matter if it's live or recorded. It says live or recorded on the entertainment license.
I think the issue was like after 10 was the main issue. If it's
Yeah, that could
you're
have, that
recorded.
was an issue too,
yeah,
because
the band shuts off when they put on the
Yeah.
music and things like that.
Yeah. So, so the first violation that we're going to notify on actually occurs on September 7th now, okay, that we caught. So the written warning goes out July 30th. Now, there's the gap, okay, that Marna was, I think, probably talking about. You know, the first violation that we're going to warn them on happens on June 19th. Lieutenant Considine contacts the manager by phone on the 20th, but the actual written notification doesn't go out till July 30th.
Okay.
That they have a violation on file and the rest are going to be brought to the licensing authority. Okay? So they're notified July 30th, and then the one in August with the house music does not get documented as a violation, and September 7th does. So the violation that we're gonna take action on that's brought up the line happens September 7th. September 10th, the lieutenant sends me a memo. This is how the process occurs at the
Okay.
PD.
Sure.
3 days later, the lieutenant sends me a memo. 3 days after that, I send a memo to the town administrator saying we've got a violation. And then right after that, 13th and 14th, there were 2 more. Those end up getting added to the mix. And it's placed on the selectmen's agenda October 1st. And then the owner is notified, served in hand with notice, October 3rd. Now here, see, this is interesting. That's really by regulation the only requirement of notifying the owner. Right there.
But because of
We
this
deal with
line here-
management on the ground each night of the
Yeah.
violation. But we're not required to, and I'm not saying this is right, we're not required to make
sure.
sure the owner is aware that there's a violation pending and it's on the selectmen's agenda and you're gonna be served in hand. That's something that we could potentially improve. You know what I mean? And I certainly don't mind trying to improve that. I'm just saying it's not required.
So would it be, like, would you be possible to, like, write a speeding ticket in effect on the very night?
Well, the problem with that is the same thing. It's a communication channel between the manager on the scene that night and the owners.
Right.
You know, what I'm seeing is, and I think
Okay.
we've had some decent conversation with owners in the past, in past hearings, which is, hey, you know, you've got my email, you've got, you know, my phone number. We can certainly try and improve our, you know, our timeline of communication to the owners. But I think that, you know, there's probably room for communication improvement all the way around. So the owner gets served October 3rd. October 31st, the hearing is held, and that's like a quasi courtroom deal with the town administrator is the hearing officer. I'm there. All the officers who have reports on the violations are there. They all sworn in. They all testified to what they saw and did. The establishment has counsel, legal counsel. Usually you can ask questions and cross-examine, just like, you know, you see in court. And then the hearing officer is going to take it all under advisement and make a determination. And once that, he's going to send that determination and his recommendation to the board, which happens on November 2nd. And then the board finally voted November 13th to accept the recommendation. And in 2018, that was a letter of warning. So that's the process, and I agree, folks, it's long.
It's,
It's
right.
long, yeah.
But
The select board,
Dates are 2/18, December 2/19.
the select board is gonna have to come up with a
Well,
speedier
So here, I actually,
solution.
this goes into what I did. Here's some recommendations I did, just for this, because that was on the agenda. We
Yeah.
could submit recommendations,
Yeah.
and it kind of fits right in your timeline. I'll just kind of go over it. It says, number one, officer responds, notifies the establishment it's a violation, like you're doing now,
Right.
okay? In this, I just put these date times there. Within 7 days, a formal violation notice is sent to the business establishment and the Board of Selectmen. Then I was saying, between Memorial Day and Labor Day, the Board of Selectmen, I don't know if they can do this, have an open agenda item for noise complaints on there, because all they do is get it and send it right to the hearing to the hearing officer. So if you can cut down that time where it goes to the Board of Selectmen, the next meeting, they have it on their agenda to say there was a violation last week or 2 weeks ago, let's set the hearing, give it to the hearing officer. Then the hearing officer, number 4, sets the date as soon as they can. So it might help speed up the process so it happens in the season as opposed to it not happening in the season. And then I have some other ones about giving us cell phone numbers, but that's, so it's just something like that, you know? I mean,
So also.
and I think a lot of the problem is that it's people, the neighbors complain that they don't get response
Yeah.
in a quick enough time.
Well, I can't.
And it's not
Every single
your part.
report and log entry and the supporting documentation is there. There's no confrontation with management or owners.
No.
And they're always cooperative and try and turn it down. You know what I mean? Turn it down when asked to. So I don't, you know, the unfortunate thing, and I've actually had a conversation with one of our sergeants who works a lot of evening shifts during the summer, and he's been on the scene a lot of these, and knows all the players, and, you know, I was like, hey, do you have anything for me? I got noise containment for me tonight. Your boots on the ground,
Yeah.
you tell me what facing, you know. His take on it was that one of the issues is there's a disconnect, and it may be forever, between complainants understanding or believing what a plainly audible is and what the patrol officers are saying.
That's
And what
on
their-
our
what
agenda
their
next.
Yeah, but we're not going to
subjective
solve that, it's like,
Right, what their subjective opinion
How to
is,
solve
whether
all
this is a
these.
violation, and then you're complaining, well, he says, I don't think it's a violation, and the complainant says, well, I disagree, I think it is a violation. And I don't know how we're gonna work around that. We have to stop clearly in the middle of this.
Yeah, that's the
issue
tough
to
one.
understand.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
And we try and be as responsive as we can in dealing with people. We understand that it's a quality of life issue with the people that are complaining. And, you know, they have a right to complain, and, you know, people have a right to, you know, a degree of peace and quiet. What that is, you know what I mean?
so, let me ask you one thing, because I put this on my list. People that are within the 150 feet, the establishment's within 150 feet, I mean, technically, they're inside the thing, but if they call and complain, I mean, they could call, and it has happened, where they called 4 times in a night, and eventually you guys are going to say, let's just give them a violation.
So the one thing about that is when someone within 150 feet, and let's pretend, for the sake of argument, that the sound can be heard at 200 feet. Okay, so if it can be heard at 200 feet and you're you're 100 feet away, it's over the limit. And bringing it down to the 150 foot reduces the noise for the person inside the 100 foot, right? So it's a proxy for volume, the distance heard, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's,
Can I just ask you, Chief, when, for training purposes with your officers, what is the training given? How does the training go with the plainly audible? Is it just kind of like it's
You know
kinda out
what,
there in the-
it hasn't, they settled on, okay, and I said this at one of our hearings, and for right or for wrong, I'm not sure, which is why I kind of, we've been talking about playing the audible definition to try and hash it out a little bit more. They settled on, if we can clearly hear the lyrics, or clearly, like Sergeant said to me today, clearly hear the music, then it's plainly audible. But that's always going to be subject to interpretation
Right,
on the
right.
officer's part. You know what I mean? I don't know how you can, like, if we were to say, right, with plainly audible, like, if we were to say any sound, right, that's, you can hear above ambient noise, our violations would probably quintuple.
we wouldn't have any businesses.
Sure we would, we'd
And
have
I'm
plenty
not
of
sure,
businesses, we
like-
just wouldn't have outside music.
So,
No.
No.
People would
Have
complain
outside
about
music.
the garbage man coming in the morning.
Yeah.
People would complain about the outside
And they have
fans.
legitimate reason to complain about
I
garbage
get woken up by the
men
garbage
in
man
the
at
morning.
4:30 every
Absolutely.
morning
They're not
during
supposed to
summer.
be.
All right, so let's get back on
Lance,
target. Let's get back on
wait,
task.
so-
Let's, Chief, finish, please.
So we didn't have a lot of discussion on playing the audible because that seemed to be what I was seeing, at least this past season. They were working with within their own definition, which was reasonable. And I have to say that this is one of the things that I credit the officers out there with. They try and apply reasonableness to this situation, okay?
Right.
People that are upset and being disturbed, okay, sometimes are not going to be satisfied.
Yeah.
Right.
But the officer there has to be the voice of reason and say, listen, in my opinion, you know what I mean, I don't see it as a violation
Right.
tonight. And, you know, you can see from the spreadsheet I created that's got cross-reference call numbers, okay? You can read all those
Yeah, I did.
at your leisure, and you
Yep.
can get a flavor for,
Yeah, I got those down.
you know, violations, no violations,
Yep.
how they're wording it in the log as far as, or the reports as to why they did what they did. Initially, Angela, to answer your question is training, we did have roll call training on when this first started occurring a few years ago. It's like, okay, listen, a noise from an establishment licensed to sell alcohol and have entertainment is different from a noise bylaw violation. We had to get that separate first. And then, listen, it doesn't have to be live music, it can be live or recorded.
Yeah.
And if anything after 10 o'clock is absolute to drop dead out for outside entertainment. Any noise from inside after 10 o'clock that can be heard beyond the premises is also a violation. So all these things were talked about at roll call, trying to get the officer's head around the fact that this is a noise regulation that's connected to the liquor licensing, not a noise bylaw, which is what they have always done.
Right.
So that's, to this point, has been the majority of our training, just to try and get them focused on the regulations versus what exactly is playing the audible.
Well,
Makes sense.
can we go back to the process of the appeals and all that sort of?
Yeah.
Because some of it, my understanding is that appeals occur, and which can delay, and postponements occur, so the processing of the...
To my knowledge, once the hearing officer makes a determination and the board approves it, there is no appeal unless I think you're going to sue.
Okay.
Right, yeah,
I
because
don't-
Mike said that, I think,
Yeah, I
last time.
don't
yeah.
see that there's
Okay.
any appeal beyond
So-
that.
Okay, so...
There is an agreed upon continuation,
Okay.
which has happened from violations in 2019. We still haven't played out violations in 2019 as we sit here.
So,
We've been continuing.
Bob Nickerson...
So that's, it's not a notification problem, it's just the parties involved are continuing for whatever reasons. It's not any, doesn't have anything to do with notifications.
Okay, so Bob Nickerson had a brilliant idea, I think, about having, and maybe you can tell us about it.
No, it's
No,
no.
well, we
comment.
can...
I know.
Okay,
Well,
so...
paraphrase.
So he, I believe
we
you...
can nod.
I believe you spoke with the town admin, and you asked him whether you could have 2 tracks of penalties. One would, be the standard, and one would be like, yeah, I admit it, I'll just take the penalty and pay it right now, and just admit to it. And
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, Bob Nickerson's idea. And he said that the town admin thought that would fly.
That's a really great idea.
Maybe he could speak to it a little bit.
No, can't, well, it's just not, because it's not fair to people who thought there's no comment and they couldn't be here.
But that's something we can
Yeah,
propose to
that's
the
a-
Board of
That can be
Selectmen.
one on the list.
We can propose.
The other thing,
to-
I look at, over the years, the complaint stuff, and to me, I think the bylaws are written works. We've seen most of them, for two of the 3, they either have none or the violations have sort of gone down. There is violations being reported. I think the whole process that everybody's upset about is the timeline of when they get heard, and there's been no penalties.
We talked last week about, or at our last meeting, about speedy penalties. And one suggestion that I heard was, okay, first violation, you get a warning. Second violation, you've been handed your violation, it's determined that the police chief or the police, it's a violation, then what would be a speedy penalty? Well, within 5 days, you have no entertainment for one night.
Well, the thing is,
Or-
in the regulations, they have a right to a hearing.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
But,
Into
okay,
the-
so they
it's a
have a
liquor
right to
license
hear.
violation.
So, here's your penalty. It's either you within the next 7 days, if the penalty occurred on Friday, next Friday you have no entertainment. Or
Something draconian.
Or you accept it, you pay, and you can have the entertainment. You give them an option.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with giving the
If
option
you
to pay,
have
but they
another-
still have their rights to go through what the regulations say.
So that was a
Unless they
two-track
change
that
it up.
Mr. Nickerson was
two-track,
talking
the
about, the two-track.
If you have your third violation, it's either gonna be a heftier fine or a heftier. So the business, so if they want to appeal it and don't want to pay their fine, they have that right. But if they want to, a way so it's gotta hurt the business so that they're not gonna try to sneak violations.
What's going to hurt is when it gets to hearing eventually, some of these, it's going to be a big stick coming down, and they're going to have to do something.
But we don't have
We don't have
stiff penalties.
I look at the two other establishments that had 2 violations last year.
Yeah.
It's not a problem.
Well, but to some people, that was a problem.
It's
Two
not.
violations?
July 4th,
Yeah.
4th of July weekend when all the fireworks going off and somebody's complaining
know.
at 7:30 about music.
About music. Well,
I mean, and then Labor Day weekend, the same thing. It's just,
Oh,
we don't want any violations.
that's
no,
not,
but it's not.
We're human.
No, we want, we.
it's
not
not
gonna
gonna
happen.
happen.
But though, if you do have a violation, then there's gonna be a penalty.
Yeah, they'll get a penalty. They will get a penalty.
Eventually,
So-
will they get a penalty?
Chief,
They haven't gotten one yet, and it's the next year.
Well, yes, Emmer's been
They-
assessed a penalty.
They need swifter penalties.
Well, that's what we're here to.
Well, they
Yeah.
did, so now
So-
you're going to be in a new year.
so
Okay, hang
Chief,
on.
is there,
Let's not
That's not my
crosstalk,
definition
one at
of
a time.
swift.
It's not, and
So
that's
get
why I
on
said move the timeline, but.
We need to
Okay.
make it the penalty needs to be swifter.
Oh, yeah, I think we're all, and I think business owners don't want to drag things out either, the residents and business owners. I mean, it makes
It needs
sense.
to hurt a little bit more, and it needs to be swifter. And that's-
so
okay,
just a
we're
question to
gonna-
the chief. Some of the delay, is that from having to make a determination what the penalty is? Would having a chart of penalties speed things up a bit?
I don't think there's a
That's about
delay in determining what the penalty is. And I can't speak to it, I'm not sure what's required as far as, I think they have to post the public hearing and how many days ahead that is. That's going to be a clear cut, chunk of time that you're not going to be able to get around because of the due process that they have for the hearing. So, but I don't think, it's been my experience that it's usually decided upon
Right there.
fairly quickly after the finding of the hearing as to what the penalty is going to be.
And some towns have a monetary. Second, first violation, $300, second violation, $500, third one, $1,000. Different communities put in so that the business knows what their violation is gonna be. Ours is, a warning to,
Maybe this,
it's
or
a
maybe
maybe
that's.
this or
it's-
maybe that, it's not spelled out enough.
It's not clear for business owners, it's not clear for residents, I do agree wholeheartedly with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what I'll do
It is clear, I mean, it's in the regulations what
But
the
it needs to,
process
but
is.
it's not.
And no,
You
the
just want it to
process is-
happen quicker.
that,
And I want the business to know I want them to know what their violation is gonna be.
Yeah,
It's not
they
gonna
don't
be,
know that.
they don't know it, and they need to know what it's gonna be.
it could be anything from another written warning to,
A 30-day, yeah.
it's not right, it's
They
not right
get
to
one, they
them,
get one
you know?
written warning, so
They-
they.
Right,
all
or,
have to
or,
say-
a- or
They
a
need to know
day
what
to
it's
30
gonna
days,
be.
it's just,
Yeah.
it's not right for them, it's, God.
And it doesn't even need to be an unwritten policy. The policy can be, your first violation, you get a warning. Your second violation, you're gonna get this fine, whatever it is. Your third violation, you're gonna get this. They need to know. The businesses need to know, the residents need to know.
Mhm.
I'll reach out to Mike about that two-track, and maybe he can get in touch with the town attorney about that. I don't know if that's something that can be done or not done, I don't know. It's a great idea, so,
Yeah.
I just don't want us to get focused on something and all of a sudden it's like, we can't do that. We get from on down, we can't, it's not something we can do, so I'll
So the
email
two
him.
maybe
track
you
review,
maybe you should talk to the
I gotta
town
write this
attorney,
down,
too.
what's the two-track thing again? Can you go over that again? Because I wanna write it down.
So two sets of.
Two
penalties.
Bobs here.
Yeah. So Bob Ann's idea is to have two
Yep.
different tracks of penalties. One are more severe and one are less
Not-
severe.
No, that's not, that
You
shouldn't
waive-
be.
what- no,
That,
what-
that should not be. That
No,
you
that-
shouldn't have it more severe if you decide to go to
Well, this
the
is,
hearing.
I'm just telling you what,
All right, but when I reach out to Mike,
Well,
you know, it's,
well,
it should
well-
be this, if you want to pay or do whatever that night, within a week, that's fine. But if you choose
You don't have to bring an attorney, do a hearing.
Right,
It's
but if
still-
you
still-
choose to do the hearing,
It's-
you shouldn't have to, the penalty shouldn't be harsher.
no, well, that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is that I admit it is easier. There's a, you know, a given penalty, and you get a break if you admit to it, and you know,
But
just
what if
move
they
on.
disagree with the complainant?
Then they go on.
And it's, and if they're found guilty, then it's a harsher, that just makes no sense to me.
I kind of foresee this as being like the parking ticket situation, where you get a parking ticket, you know it's gonna be $50, or you're saying, well, wait, I really know that I didn't have this violation, now I have the choice to go to the hearing because I know I'm right. So it's either like a very specific, whatever the first penalty is, okay, I know that was way too loud, I'm just gonna pay it because I'm not gonna waste the money on an attorney to sit through a hearing. So it's hearing or pay the penalty, kind of like,
Mhm.
I get a parking ticket, I can contest it.
That's what I would think it would
or
be.
I-
Yeah,
That's what I
that's
would
what
think it
I'm
would be.
looking
They don't always
Yeah.
bring an attorney, so there's not always a cost of
Well,
attorney.
It doesn't
But
matter. It's
it's
still-
whether-
it's
Has
up
there
to the
ever been
hearing
an appeal
officer.
before? Has there ever been an appeal
An appeal to what?
to a violation?
not- they're
No,
No,
there
there's
hasn't.
nothing within the regulations
But,
to
Bob, I understand what
allow
you're
for
saying.
appeal.
So, but what Heather says, to have just the go to the hearing.
This is nothing to allow for an appeal,
No, we're
No,
saying,
it
we're
could-
not talking about appeal.
To go to the hearing.
or to go to the
Yeah.
hearing.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
Yeah.
so
Hearing.
the way for that to work, in the way that Heather would like, is you have the first violation is $800, the second one's $1,000. The more you go up, the less likely they're gonna take the penalty, so then they have to go to the
So then
hearing.
we don't accomplish
Doesn't
anything,
matter.
we don't speed
No,
things up.
no, it still
No, I
does.
think it's definitely good, because someone might just have one warning and then one
Yeah.
written, and they're like, yeah, I screwed up, I'll
it.
pay that $100.
I'm not gonna go, I don't wanna spend the time going to the hearing, blah, blah,
Right,
blah.
you know,
So
I
no,
think
I
it's
don't
a
have a
good
problem with
idea.
the two-track thing.
I think it's a
just-
great idea. But if you choose to go to hearing and you're
Can't
found
be,
guilty,
can't be more of a penalty.
you should have a harsher penalty just because you
It'd
choose
be up to the
that
hearing
route.
officer to decide
Right,
then at
yeah.
that point. Could be less, could be more.
I
Right.
look at it from the other way. You get cut a break if you admit to it and move on. So rather than saying you get a harsher penalty, it's like you get an easier penalty if you just say, okay, let's move on.
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably
So-
left up to the
Yeah,
town
that's how I-
administrator.
yeah.
And what's harsh is not, like you said, they may not want to hire an attorney. It's really whoever is paying the penalty. Like, maybe $500 is a lot to someone and maybe it's not. So they might weigh it and say, oh, I just pay this and get it over with, or they may say, okay, well, I have an attorney, is that going to be more or less? It's really down to the person making the decision, to how it affects them.
Well, before we start getting all worked up over
I'm
this,
not-
let me put it out to
Let's try
Mike
that.
and see if it's even something that we can pursue with the Board of Selectmen, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Could you have him talk to the town admin, because I think that he's had the discussion with Bob
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that, yeah.
And they'll have to go to the attorney, you know, that's fine. I'll do that tomorrow. Email. All right, so we,
Get
back to
plainly-
square one.
Back to plainly audible?
Back to
Back to
plainly, and
plainly
I think
audible.
it's discretionary, really.
It's gonna be
We have to-
discretionary, it's like solving a little piece, you know? It's gonna be up to the discretion of the officer. I think you just leave it as it is. I mean, we're not gonna ever define plainly
Well,
audible into a language put in a regulation that's gonna be fine.
Well,
Because the standard that seems like when I did some research, it looks like it's a standard that a lot of towns use, over around the country, use plainly audible, so.
Right, so what I've seen, and what I've seen, I've looked for like definitions of plainly audible. A lot of places don't have plainly audible defined, like 2/3, 3/4, but based on my Googling, so it's very inexact. But a lot of places just don't use have plainly audible defined. And so then there's an awful lot of discretion. But as I think this paper that we've all had a chance to look at,
Right here? I've got it.
Right, yeah, so when it is defined, I don't think it says it, but when it is defined, I think it becomes much easier to know when something meets that criteria. So the Harwich's definition is the same as Dedham's, and that's, and I haven't seen that anywhere else, but not that this list is complete, but, you know, any sound from a source regulated by this bylaw that can be detected above routine or normal ambient background noise by unaided human hearing. So apparently we borrowed from Dedham, or Dedham borrowed from us. And that's pretty straightforward, but that's based on everything else I've seen out there. It's an atypical definition, but it's a definition, which is a pretty good thing, because when you don't have the definition, you're just dealing with the word plainly audible, and plainly can mean a lot of different things. It can mean like simply, it can mean clearly, it can mean obviously. So it's when it is clear, when it is defined, that makes it easier to interpret. And the problem, I think, is that in the license, the entertainment license, it doesn't have this. It doesn't refer to the plainly audible in the bylaw. And if it were to do that, then the interpretation might be more straightforward by the officers on the ground.
So it needs to be defined in both places.
Or I think Chief last time suggested that we give the police some guidance, because in the example from the paper, which is which seems like to be a very common sort of, it has the flavor of many of the other ones. Plainly audible means any sound that can be detected by a person using his or her unaided hearing faculties. As an example, and everything else is as an example, right? And this is what the chief was saying. As an example, if the sound source under investigation is a portable or personal vehicular sound amplification or reproduction device, the enforcement officer need not determine the title of song, specific words, or the artist performing the song. The detection of the rhythmic bass component of the music is sufficient to constitute plainly audible sound. So we don't have to necessarily make the plainly audible definition different. We just have, I think they're looking for some guidelines. And if we can incorporate the plainly audible from the bylaws into the to the entertainment license, I think that will be a step, and maybe some of this kind of language too.
Are you looking for my comment?
No, I'm looking at anyone's comment.
I think that makes a lot of good sense. It needs to be in both, and that makes it pretty clear to me what's plainly audible.
So the license is not part of the bylaw. It doesn't. It's a whole separate deal, right?
Well, yes, the entertainment license says on it, noise not to exceed the premises, or noise cannot be plainly audible at a distance than 150 feet or more. It does not define plainly audible.
And it needs to.
Or,
But it would be
I like
better.
the current method, where the police officer decides whether they like it or not.
Well,
Seems like it's
that makes
work.
it-
That's
Seems like it's work.
one of the things that's caused a lot of problems in town, so.
It's going to be subjective.
It's going to be
Too
subjective either way.
subjective.
That's always going to be pretty subjective.
No. In fact,
it's not.
reading this paper doesn't seem like it's subjective at all. I mean,
As
there's
soon
some
as you
ways.
hear any radio going by, that's a violation. I mean, it's just,
Yeah, you won't. There's intermittency, so you're never going to get that.
You're not gonna get rid of intermittent.
But if the
That's
guy's sitting there with
different from an
his
entertainment license.
boombox pounding at the corner of South and 28, and he's just parked there, doesn't.
Who, and I saw him, and I know this is, just because it's come up several times. Who is this person and who put him there?
I just made that up. I
No, there
never
was,
heard.
no, but
I never heard of it.
No, there was one guy
Yeah.
in,
Yeah,
you know what I'm
I
talking about.
know exactly who you're talking
Was
about.
that, who was that?
That's the guy that used to be at Shaw's.
oh, the kettle drums.
The kettle
Oh, yeah, I
drums
could
are
hear it at
drums.
my house.
Yeah.
That's amazing how far that carries.
It's amazing how far.
But was that part of something, or?
I don't know.
On that day, the day
He
that
was there
he's
a
been
few
there,
days, yeah.
it could not have been because it was cold, miserable weather, and he was out
Do
there
you
shivering.
think he just sets up?
Right at
I
the corner of
think
C
it's
Street,
just-
right
Okay,
there.
all right.
Yeah, right across from your shop.
And
Yeah. We have the music on indoors, so I'm not listening to
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, it's crazy how far that carries.
Okay, so that,
And to
right,
me,
yeah.
yeah, I could hear it at my house on Miles Street, but it's like, yes, that's not a
So
problem,
I
but
think
that's
in
my
in
opinion.
helping, we said,
It
and
gets
we've
closer,
been
you couldn't hear it
told
as
to
much.
define plainly audible. It's in our charge to define plainly audible. I think we need to do so. We've been charged to do so, and I think what Bob has read is as good a definition as I've seen of plainly audible.
I'm gonna have to think about it. I really have to mull it over, because I'm not agreeing right away on that at all. I think it's too restrictive.
Come up with another
Okay,
one.
so
Come
I
up
know,
with
that's what I
okay,
said,
so-
I'm gonna have to mull it over.
So here's what happened. In 2000, up until 2016, outdoor entertainment was restricted to the premises, and that didn't work. So they wanted to accommodate the businesses, and they went looking for a way to make it possible. So they went out and they looked at the bylaws, that 150-foot plainly audible would be, was what they chose to do. Now, that's a whole different story. 150-foot plainly audible is a whole different story when it's in the bylaw, when it deals with one-off situations, when it's like the infrequent house party, or a boombox, or, a lawnmower getting nuts, or what those one-off things. When it's every day, the 150-foot is a big deal, right? Noise beyond that is a big deal, coming from 4 different vendors, right? But they took it a step further. It wasn't just 150 feet, it was 150 feet from whichever is further from, whether from the source or from the boundary. And in most cases, that adds another 100 feet. So we're talking about some 250 feet for most of these places. That's how it works.
No, I'm just trying to get the
Yeah.
250 feet.
Yeah, so these aren't small places. Port and Perks together, kind of, between them, there's a good chunk of land. Ember is a big chunk of land. Minnow's a big chunk of land. And so the selectmen were looking at a way to promote business, and they were looking for a criteria, and they chose the one from the bylaw, but they made it even better for the businesses. And it's not just, the problem is that it's not just every now and again, it's like all the time, like 7 nights a week. So I think it's important that we, zero in and work out the plainly audible so that,
I do too. I'm not
Okay,
disagreeing with
okay.
you, and I don't need a history lesson, because we've already had that. What I'm saying is I need to mull it over, I need
Okay.
to read it and see. I mean, I might agree, I might disagree. I might say yes, or any of us. I'm not saying just me, any of us. I mean, that's just one avenue to take. I guess my whole view on this whole situation is, yes, there's been multiple violations in the past, granted, but we've seen improvement.
Where?
I
Well,
think we have.
I mean, no, what, I just wanted to know what.
2 out of 3 places.
yeah,
Oh, improvement in the number of violations. Is that what you
correct.
meant?
And
Okay.
business owners trying to make a difference, like with the Ember, with the little house, Perks and, Perks and Port have got some of that, the material up to try and dissipate some of the
Since the
volume.
summer, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So, and just in people showing up, or business owners showing up, it's not us against them against us. It's they're
No,
trying
yeah,
to
they're
work
trying,
forward. So my view at this point is, let's see what happens next summer. Let's say, we'd like you to do this, this, and this, but don't choke them off. Don't make it so restrictive in terms of definitions, in terms of the officers having to decide. We can go crazy with this kind of stuff, and I understand. I hear the music. I live on Bank Street, I hear the music. But, we have to be reasonable as a board. Not everybody's going to be happy, and that's just the way it is. I think the business owners have really shown good faith, most of them,
But
and we have to give some of them the benefit
So
of the doubt.
one of the things I'd like to see is that, figure out a way to give both businesses, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk about later, about when we reviewed the different proposals. I think businesses need some assurance that they're going to be able to continue to conduct business.
Correct.
And residents need some assurance that they're going to be able to have some peace and quiet.
They're not going to ever have quiet, maybe a
Well,
little more
I-
peace. It's never going to be
Can I
quiet.
finish?
Yeah, go ahead, you're right. I apologize.
Residents need some assurance, some safeguards that, not just promises and verbal assurance, they need real assurance that there's going to be a reduction in noise, and that they won't have to fight about it, right? Because that's just as big a problem, being the human decibel meter thing, right? So whatever we come up with, we need to come up with some sort of program, some sort of policy where both businesses get some assurance that they're going to do what they want to do, and residents get that assurance too. And for that matter, the police need some assurance that they're going to be able to implement whatever policy in a straightforward manner and not be overburdened. So I think we have to, figure out a way to give everyone assurance. And saying, oh, forget about the plainly audible standard, even though it's in our charge to define it, that doesn't give me a warm feeling for the residents that they're being safeguarded. So.
And to add to that, because I agree with him, the businesses need assurances that they will be able to continue their businesses. The residents do have a right at times to peace and quiet.
I don't disagree, but
But
let
you
me just...
disagree
I
with
do,
me,
I
and
do.
I think the residents,
There's
there has
going
to
to
be-
be no
there has-
quiet.
there's
There's no
gonna
quiet.
be, there's gonna be some quiet.
No, there's not going to be
It's
ever
called
quiet in the summertime.
compromise. It's called
Exactly.
compromise.
How is it going to be quiet in the summertime? Tell
Well,
me how.
Well, suppose we did the Harwich Unplugged for Monday and Tuesday nights.
But it's still not going to be quiet. You're
But
still
they're
going to
not
have
having, they're
volume.
not gonna have the loud music, that is what they.
If
they
there
will
is,
con-
there'll be a violation. They'll
Right.
They
really
will
hear it.
consider that to be quiet. There's
Well-
they will
But the same.
consider that to be
All
quiet.
right, well, you didn't define it that way. Quiet is quiet.
Quiet,
You're talking
Yeah.
about less volume.
less volume, yeah.
And
Hopefully
I
there
thought
can be
we
s-
did discuss Harwich Unplugged, and then it kind of blew up in our
Yeah.
faces last meeting, so,
I would love to see some nights when the police know they're not gonna be
you know.
called for noise complaints in Harwich Port, period.
Well, I think we agreed on Wednesday nights because they
They're
put the
not
music at 9.
And after 9, it'll be quiet.
And music...
So even though it's
recorded-
loud as
yeah.
can be right before that.
Yeah.
So where are we with plainly audible? Because that's the
I
agenda item.
want to read everything. I want to look at it again and come up with a definition. I'm not,
Okay.
I'm just speaking of myself.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, so,
So what,
You- you-
And I haven't made a formal
okay.
decision on that either.
Have we
But
discussed enough tonight?
I'm just worried, I'm worried about putting too much restriction
Mm-hmm.
on it. That because as we've heard, sound travels. You may not hear it 200 feet away, but you may hear it a half mile away. You know?
Well,
To me,
one of
that's
the-
not a violation. It's just, I don't care what you say. You know, I mean, it's just daily background noise, you know?
Yeah, well, that's the ambient thing.
Like the
But-
guy with the kettle drums in my house. Yeah, it's
No,
background noise. But I hear it. It's above
Yeah.
ambient
Well-
noise, because I can hear it.
Yeah, well, if you live where I live or where Bob Nickerson lives, you'd hear it more regularly,
Mhm.
and it would
Yeah.
start to irk you, right?
So let
But
me
I-
ask
no, I
you a
agree.
question.
Just,
Just,
The noise level has to come down, I know. I understand
let me
that.
ask you a question. What would make you happy as a resident? I just, what are you looking for? Just lower volume? What are you looking for? Because we've
well,
been around
I'm a
the
little
whole
different
time.
than the rest, and...
You're right there, no.
No, I'm
that's
not,
what
I'm not
asking.
right there, I'm a little further away.
Oh, I know,
So I'm on,
yeah.
yeah, so I'm in like in this acoustic corridor.
Yeah, sure you are, yeah.
And I didn't want to hear it every night. That's what, 2019, I was hearing it every night.
See,
Every night. I heard it from every venue. And, some of them, I heard it from Ember. And if they, something like if they had a tent over it, maybe that wouldn't, I think music goes up and blows.
I think
And
there's some things they
tenting,
can do.
I'm
yeah.
hoping,
Mhm.
Sarah was talking about tenting at Ember, at Perks last time. I think music goes up and flies over, but people who are
Hard
closer...
surfaces, it bounces off. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, but like, as it gets up there, I think, I don't know how it could get to me from Ember, but it did, and fairly regularly. And I can hear it 800 feet away from Port and Perks.
Yeah.
And when Minna was operating...
So your ideal is you don't hear it, is really what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when Minna was doing it, it was like, boom, it was like they were pointing the speakers right at her house.
Yeah.
So that was, and apparently they're gonna move it around, which is great. Look, I think that the businesses are all moving in the right direction, I think that's phenomenal. And something's beeping.
Not me.
We should. So I think,
Yeah.
so for me, but for other people who are closer to it,
Mhm.
they get
Yeah.
killed, they get clobbered. And
can
so
appreciate
this last summer, I was going out and doing like this noise survey, and I could hear music pretty far away from a lot of different places on a lot of different nights. And it depended on the wind, it depended on who was playing. But after a while, I stopped doing it. It was a lot of work, and it was like, and I stopped hearing it so much, because it did get better over the summer. But then I'd get a text from someone, say, did you hear it tonight? And I wasn't hearing it in my place, and I went down to a friend, and they were getting clobbered. And I could hear music from, either Port or Perks, like 400, like halfway into the parking lot I could hear it. I couldn't hear it in my house, but in the parking lot, halfway down the parking lot I could. And the people who were right next door were getting clobbered. And so, what makes things better for me isn't necessarily going to make things better for them. And so I'd like them not to get clobbered, right? I think we all want them not to get clobbered. And I think noise mitigation is the way to go if
I do too.
businesses
Absolutely.
want to, because that's the only way we can live together. If they want to continue to have, a big musical presence, they're going to have to do noise mitigation. They're going to have to tent it. They're going to have to.
And I think they've been moving in that direction, but
Right.
maybe a
I
little
hope
more
so.
so.
I hope so.
We started a couple weeks ago with our list of, things that, for businesses, and then you said, I've been thinking about it, and I agreed with you, and that, how can we tell businesses what to, what to do and what not? Then I took a look at all the Nantucket entertainment licenses, where every single one, it's incredible where speakers go. I mean, it's all spelled out. It's all spelled out, and that's really helped that community a lot to have it spelled out. So maybe we, I'm not sure what the answer is there now, Walter,
Yeah.
because I took a look at what Nantucket did, and okay. And so our recommendation may be something as simple as the Board of Selectmen, we recommend to the Board of Selectmen that they look individually at each liquor entertainment license to determine if there are conditions that need to be put onto them. Such as, and we can list, the Board of Selectmen is looking for us to come up with possible solutions for businesses. And it's not a blanket for every business, because you take a look at the shape of Ember versus the shape of Perks and the Fort.
They're all different,
But here
yeah.
are
And their neighbors.
and their neighbors. And here are possible solutions that you may want to put into their licenses. And Angela, when I was talking to you about liquor licenses, and you said we have nothing to do with them, well, in fact, these conditions go into the licenses, and that's where I see our recommendations do come into. We do have a say in that, because it does come into theirs. And I think in West Harwich Inn and Tavern, they have conditions based on, and because of the business that was there before them. But that has been successful this past year because of some of the conditions that the Board of Selectmen put on. So maybe we won't specify this, but here are possible solutions the Board of Selectmen should be looking at for each business to help with it. I don't know who needs to be tented, who might not need to be tented.
Right. That's the point,
But if we can be creative in coming up with giving the Board of Selectmen ideas. House system versus no house system. Virtually everybody in Nantucket, you plug into a house system. I don't know what house systems cost, but now most of these bands realize that when they're going to a venue, they're plugging into a house system.
Yeah, we had that discussion about house systems.
Yeah, and we thought, well, we don't know the cost, but it's a possibility that you require them to plug into a house system.
So looking through these things, there's a number of them that are outdoor. I used to live in Nantucket back in the 70s, so I'm kind of familiar with these places. But most of the places you'll see that have outdoor entertainment are out of town. Cisco Brewers.
Great place.
Yacht clubs are out in the water. And then the ones that are in town, the Jared Coffin House, it's hard to follow. They don't have page numbers here. the ones that are in town are stodgy places. So I don't think they make, I haven't been there at night forever, but I think they're kind of, the Jared Coffin House and Languedoc are stodgy places, and they don't make much noise. I would anticipate.
I wouldn't think so.
The one thing that was, one of the ones that was interesting was the Metropolitan Club.
Where's that one?
That's on 38 Main. I gotta find it. I just have it here. And I think it's out of business now, but that, that was on 38 Main, which is right underneath Orange Street. Like, you know, if you go up the street, you go up Main Street,
It's 3 from the back.
3 from back?
3 from the back. I had it marked too.
What's it called?
Metropolitan Club,
Oh,
it's at 38 Main.
Yeah, I got it.
I can't find it again. Oh, yeah, okay. And they go into, so that location is a tricky location on Nantucket, because it's on the left side of Main Street facing up, and that's right underneath a bunch of the big fancy houses up on Orange Street and on Union Street and all that, all around. So there are a bunch of houses all very close, just like in Perk, except there's a hill involved. So these guys, the conditions here are,
No live music.
no, they have live music, but
Not outside.
outdoor license, they have maximum of 2 speakers. Speakers should be pointed away toward restaurant at all times. Speakers should be on automatic timers for shut down at 9:30 p.m. So this is like this is the
Automatic
most,
timers.
so this
That was a
is,
good one.
so that's the most sensitive area of all the ones I've seen in this. The other ones are out of town or stodgier places. So this one looks like it has some conditions built in. So I think it might be appropriate to build in conditions, in spite of what we were talking about last time. And I had this new idea today.
Did we talk about speakers down
We
on
did,
the floor?
yeah, but then the thinking was that we shouldn't
Tell
tell
them what to
people what to
do.
do. So here's a thought. Here's a thought. You know, we have these different penalties, right? You gotta pay this much. You lose this much time. How about at a certain point, at threshold 3rd warning, you have to start implementing speakers on the floors. You have to start going to acoustic. You have to start doing some of those things in addition to the 2-track.
Like the progressive
make it a
discipline.
3-track,
Yeah.
right? So it's not just discipline, it's like helpful. It's like you guys are off track somehow. Let's get you back on track. Get you pointing your speakers the right way. Get tenting or whatever noise mitigation is. And it's going to be hard to specify what those things are, but I think at a certain point, with repeated infractions.
Oh, I don't disagree.
Okay.
Those are really good
It is-
ideas.
I do think that's a
those are
good idea,
progressive.
but I think if they're getting repeated infractions and they're getting penalties and fines, I think they're going to find ways to reduce it. That's what
Yeah.
my point was, you know, of saying,
I mean,
leave
I
it up to
don't-
them.
yeah.
If they don't, they're going to lose their liquor license.
Right.
They have to know what
They have to know what the penalties.
they've got to know what
And
they
they
have to
need-
do.
and they need to come quicker.
So
Right.
so with the CLADA, like many years back,
Yeah.
they had, they finally came out with like this whole list of things they had to do. They
Yeah.
had to do, you know.
They weren't doing
So-
it. Yeah.
So maybe that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
At a certain point, if you get to a hearing, you have to start dealing with making some changes. You have to make, physical changes. You have to implement a house system, number one. There's no more
Yeah,
excuses.
I think we all agree with that.
Well, we didn't last time, so.
Yeah.
But that was just in terms of, I think that wasn't part of the disciplinary package. I think that
No,
was
no,
just, we were
okay,
just,
okay.
I think that was just like, just to have your entertainment license, this is what you had to do. It wasn't part of the
Okay.
progressive
like-
discipline. I don't think
Yeah,
it
so
was.
in fact, I don't know how they would have gotten to this without maybe having had some experience, right?
I mean, is this, because I don't know the process for Nantucket at all, but is it that, the way I look at it, because they're different, maybe that was part of the decision-making
Yeah.
for the board to say,
Yeah.
hey, last year you were too loud, so your request was for 4, no, we're gonna say 2. We don't really even know. I mean, it
Yeah.
might be that
Yeah.
the Metropolitan Club only owns 2 speakers, and that's why they.
Yeah, right.
And
It's
they
hard to
said,
tell, it's hard
sure.
to tell.
But, I mean, I get what you're saying, that does make sense if it's.
Progressive
you-
discipline.
You want 8
Progressive
speakers?
help.
No, we don't think that's reasonable. You'll say 4.
That surprised me too.
Why would
But I think
Cisco
that-
breweries be,
Yeah,
when you
I
look at
think
where they're
that some of the
located?
things that when they say acoustic,
but it's
they have
amplified.
amplified.
It's all
It's
amplified.
amplified, yeah.
Okay,
that doesn't register.
I'm just trying to think over that.
Yeah.
I had friends play that, they didn't play acoustic.
I played the bagpipes there once.
Yeah.
That's
It's
acoustic.
not
It's almost 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
We have to decide about the report.
So we have two reports, right?
Yeah.
Our first
we
report
do?
is
Yeah.
the issues.
Mhm.
So we've got to do that first, and then the next thing is like come up with some proposals. And I don't think we, reading the charge,
Yeah.
reading the charge again, I don't think we have to have a final answer because they're going to
No.
choose anyway.
Oh, no,
No,
that's
we're
right.
just giving them
That-
some advice.
Yeah, that's, no, we're not telling them what to do.
Right.
But,
But if we get buy-in from the businesses and the residents, if everyone's agreed, then that's a way to
I
take it to the
know.
board, to the selectmen and say, here's what we like. And
I'd
and everyone
really-
likes it.
I'd really like to get the business here, our next meeting, and really see if we can get buy-in, have a round table almost with them, an open forum. I mean, would everybody agree to that?
Sure.
Because we're talking about businesses and residents, and they're here, but they're just listening to us talk, and they probably have tons of ideas and
We
like,
just have an open session, have an open mic night, or...
well, yeah, within reason, but get their ideas, okay,
Yeah.
say Perks, Ember, Port. What do you think about having speakers? What do you think about a timer?
That they're gonna have entertainment, and you have them here.
What do you think about tenting? I mean, would this work? And we might be surprised. We get a lot of yeses. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we don't, anything, I mean,
See,
Sarah
I see
was,
her nodding over there.
Okay.
yeah, Sarah's a good liaison, and she was like, yeah,
Yeah,
we'll do
yeah.
anything, but we need to know that the other outdoor entertainment businesses are willing to do the same. You know what I
agree
mean?
completely.
So it's something we can bring to the selectmen. Yes, we
But our
suggested
first
this.
report is to report the findings that have nothing to do with that. And
The issues,
Right.
the issues.
The
is
issues,
about-
and we need to get that.
So how
to-
about for the next meeting,
When are
I
we-
propose we each come up with a list, just bullet points, not huge
Okay.
pages, just, like I had 6 items there of
And
what, but do it of
issues.
just issues. I didn't do
Issues.
issues, I did
Well,
recommendations.
the reason why I'm saying is
Of
that
issues.
we
And
want,
then we all go through them and pick the
Let's
ones we
get
want to
this-
keep.
we need to
And
give the
that's it.
businesses some notice, business owners some notice,
Yeah.
or their managers. That's why I put it out there. If we want to have them, that they need to come to a meeting and say, look, these are our proposals. We need to go before the Board of Selectmen. Will these work? If
But
yes,
Our first report to
Yeah.
the selectmen is the issues.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I know, but I'm going to be out of town.
Well,
So,
we can, we'll
I
do-
know, and it's
yeah.
not about me. I'm just putting these
Yeah.
thoughts out, because you're not going
Yeah.
to see me for several weeks.
When you're back,
I'll be back like the 30th.
30th of January.
January.
Okay.
And then, but then I can't do an agenda, I can't do all that for that week coming up. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, then it's
We can-
another week going off.
We can do a meeting without you.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome to
Just
do it.
Do the
You're the,
issues.
you're the,
And you can make a list of your
And
issues.
I can just email in issues. And,
Right.
so let's do the, yeah.
All we gotta do is come up with the issues and start putting the report together.
Yeah.
right, but,
that's-
but I like us as a committee to say, yes, we've got some buy-in from the businesses and from the residents on our recommendations.
Yes, that's comes
Like-
second.
That's second.
Yeah, that's
I
second.
didn't know.
That's
That's
second.
a March 30th report, March 31st, how many
Yeah.
days?
But we have to give people notice, you
Right,
know what I mean?
Mhm.
so we can pick out 2 meetings if you want. I mean,
Yeah. But let's try to get this
when-
issues
when-
report.
When's the first meeting you can do again?
Well, let me look at my calendar.
Just figure out when you can deliver it to the selectmen, the issues report.
That's the, because it's all about the posting, that's the problem.
And
It's
the
like, I can
issues
do
is-
it anytime, but it's, when I get back, but it's,
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
also, this first one is
Yeah.
our definition of plainly audible. The select board wants that in there too.
It's an issue. We haven't resolved the
It's an issue.
recommendation yet.
calendar.
Well, they've identified it as an issue, yeah.
Okey dokey. Let's see, February 6th,
Is that a,
that's a Thursday.
Is when you can be back?
I can do a February 6th meeting, because I could
so when would
potentially,
the next selectmen's be? So we-
I'd have to talk to Patty about the next selectmen when they want to see us. See,
we're
that's what I
gonna be-
mean, we're like,
yeah, we're gonna get,
we're running
by the time-
close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, if you guys can do the next meeting issues, then we can do the,
It could be a simple report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go back to the board, so
report.
these are the issues we've
We take-
determined that we are going to work, give
We have that
recommendations
list
to.
off.
Yeah, and the format is probably the same to the parking committee.
Oh, yeah?
We
Okay, I'd like to
borrow
see
from the parking committee. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Cindy would have it, right?
Cindy would have it.
We can just
Um,
pull that together.
Issues
Make a short
meeting,
Yeah, you guys determine the issue. If you email me, I can't, I'm gonna be in Europe. I can't do anything from there.
Oh.
I can't do an agenda. Someone's gonna have to
When
do
are
the
you leaving?
agenda. I'm gonna be leaving the 21st.
so
Yeah.
do the agenda and post the February 6th meeting before you go.
I can do that.
Okay.
I can
These
definitely do
meetings
that.
need to
So
be
everybody
posted.
send me your ideas for the agenda, or your issues, or whatever you want.
Well, what do we want to talk about next time? The issue-
It's issues.
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 And when are we
Just-
going to do that? January?
We
Well,
can do it in 2 weeks. If it's going to be without answer, we can do it in 2 weeks.
yeah, you can do it.
We'll do it next week.
Let's do it next
I'll
week.
do it next week.
I'm
Uh,
gone next week, sorry.
Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Atlanta.
2 weeks.
Okay, so,
When's your next best time, Heather?
I'm totally free after I fly back on the 17th, so
there's the 21st is a Tuesday,
that's fine by me.
23rd, whatever you guys want. Just
Let's do Tuesday the 21st.
Ooh, hold on.
Are you around?
Yeah, I just realized. Is that, when's Martin Luther King Day?
the 20th.
20th,
20th.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Okay, so
20,
21st.
so,
1/21,
yeah, I gotta go up to Boston. Just
At
on-
5:30?
I should be back.
5:30.
You'll book the room, Angela?
Yep, I'll book the room.
Get the key.
21st, 121.
Do you think someone is something?
Issues meeting.
Issues meeting.
Yeah.
And then I'll have the regular agenda stuff on there, you know, the,
And then
Yeah.
Thursday,
And
February 6th?
if you want to put other stuff on the agenda, and we could, if you have stuff you want us to do, we can do that, or just table it for the next time.
I think we've pretty much gone around a lot of the
Okay.
same issues. I think issue
Yeah.
meeting, and then, I really think it's important, in my opinion, that we get the businesses buy-in. It'll give
So-
us, it'll
Have
give, I think,
they've been writing their stuff to Cindy.
yeah, but they have all their stuff?
That's what I read. I read that
Read what?
no public, yeah. In the Chronicle article, a letter said that Ember had been, I wish I had it here, I don't want to
That's all right,
paraphrase, but
that's okay.
basically that, yes,
So
the
let's,
information had gone
can
to
we
Cindy.
schedule the next meeting too, so that we can get a head
Yeah.
start on
Yeah.
it for the businesses?
I just think we'll have more bite in front of the Board of Selectmen if we do have buy-in from both sides.
Yeah.
That, yeah, they can do it, they want to do
They
it,
can come, yeah.
let's do it.
It's February
Um,
6th, and then should we go back to Tuesday and do February 18th?
Yeah, so we want to do 2/6, because I'll book the rooms, 2/18.
Okay, that's 3 meetings.
Okay.
Make all these at 5:30?
Yeah. I'll talk to Patty tomorrow.
6th and 18th at 5:30.
And I need to talk to Mike.
Our final report needs to be to the Board of Selectmen before the end of March, correct?
31st, correct. Everybody good?
Yeah.
So you're saying Thursday the 6th and Tuesday the 18th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But all 5:30, all here. All right. Move to adjourn?
Second.
All right.